I will be honest, this story still shakes me. The call came while I was standing outside the battalion building, holding orders that could change my entire life. My hands were sweating inside my uniform sleeves. My name was printed clearly on the packet, right above the words I had waited 8 years to see. Promotion track. Leadership slot. Housing allowance increase. A real future. And then my boyfriend said one sentence that made my stomach drop. So, you're choosing the army over us? I did not answer right away. Because the worst part was, I did not know if he was wrong. My name is Lauren Mitchell. I was 36 years old, a staff sergeant in the United States Army, stationed at Fort Liberty, North Carolina. I had given the Army the best years of my life, and I do not say that with bitterness. I say it because it was true. The Army had shaped me. It had broken me down when I was arrogant. It had built me up when I was scared. It had taught me how to lead soldiers through heat, rain, exhaustion, bad news, and long nights where nobody slept enough. But it had also taken things from me. Birthdays. Christmas mornings. Friends who moved away every 2 years. Relationships that looked strong until deployment orders arrived. By the time I met Ryan, I was tired of being the woman people admired from a distance but never stayed with. I was tired of hearing, "You're amazing, but your life is too much." I wanted something normal. Sunday coffee. Grocery shopping together. Someone waiting at home who did not treat my uniform like competition. Ryan gave me that feeling at first. He was 38, worked in construction management, and had a way of making everything sound simple. When we first met at a friend's backyard barbecue, he watched me laugh with the other women and said, "You look like someone who never gets taken care of." It should have sounded strange. Instead, it sounded like water after years of walking through dust. For the first 6 months, he was gentle. He brought dinner when I worked late. He learned my training schedule. He sent texts before early formations, saying he was proud of me. When I had a rough week after one of my younger soldiers got into trouble, Ryan sat on my couch and rubbed my shoulders until I finally cried. I thought that meant he understood me. I thought that meant he was safe. Then the board results came out. My commander called me into his office on a Tuesday afternoon. He had that look officers get when they are trying not to smile too much. "Mitchell," he said, sliding a folder across the desk, "you were selected." For a second, I just stared at him. Selected. Not maybe. Not waitlisted. Not next cycle. Selected. The Army wanted to move me into a leadership development assignment tied to a faster promotion path. It came with better pay, stronger benefits, and a chance to build the kind of career I had dreamed about when I first enlisted. There was one problem. The position was in Texas. Ryan and I had been talking about marriage. Not officially engaged, but close enough that his mother had started asking about dates. We had looked at houses near Raleigh. We had talked about having one child before I turned 38. And now I was holding orders that moved me halfway across the country. I called Ryan before I even drove home. I expected silence. Maybe disappointment. Maybe a hard conversation. What I did not expect was anger so cold it barely sounded like him. "So what happens to our life?" he asked. "I don't know yet," I said. "That's why I'm calling you." "No, Lauren. You already know. You just want me to pretend I'm included." I sat in my car with the engine off, watching soldiers cross the parking lot in pairs. The world kept moving around me, but inside that car, everything went still. "That's not fair," I said quietly. He laughed once, without humor. "Fair? I moved my schedule around for you. I waded through field exercises. I put up with missed weekends. I listened to you say, 'Just one more year,' over and over. Now the Army snaps its fingers, and you're ready to run." The words hit harder than I wanted to admit. Because he knew exactly where to press. I had guilt already. Plenty of it. I carried it like extra weight in my rucksack. Guilt that I was not home enough. Guilt that I liked my work. Guilt that part of me felt alive in uniform in a way I never felt picking paint colors for a kitchen. Ryan did not shout. That would have been easier. He lowered his voice instead. "I thought we were building a family." "We are," I said. "No," he answered. "You're building a career. I'm just standing nearby, hoping you notice me." That night, I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat like it was evidence of a crime. When I opened my apartment door, Ryan was already there. He had a key. He used to joke that my place was warmer when he got there first. That evening, the lights were off except for the lamp beside the couch. He was sitting with his elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. For one small second, I felt sorry for him. Then he looked up. His eyes were red, but his face was calm. "I talked to my mom," he said. My chest tightened. Ryan's mother, Denise, had never liked the army. She smiled at me during dinners, but she always made little comments. A woman needs roots. A husband should come before a job. Children do not wait forever. What did she say? I asked, though I already knew. Ryan stood and walked toward me slowly. She said a man can't marry a woman who is already married to something else. I swallowed. That's unfair. Is it? He asked. He reached for my hand, and I let him take it. His thumb moved over my knuckles in a soft, familiar circle. That was what made it confusing. He could hurt me and comfort me in the same breath. "I love you," he said. "But I need to know you choose me." "I do choose you." "No." His voice sharpened just enough to scare me. Not with words. With a decision. I looked at him. He looked at the folder. And then he said the thing that kept me awake for the next 3 nights. "Decline the assignment, Lauren. Stay here. Marry me. Start a real life." A real life. As if the one I had built did not count. As if the soldiers I led, the rank I earned, the sacrifices I made, were just some temporary distraction until a man offered me a ring. I wanted to say all of that. But I did not. Because part of me was terrified he would leave. And that fear embarrassed me more than anything. I had led convoys in blackout conditions. I had briefed colonels without shaking. I had stood beside soldiers on the worst days of their lives. But in my own living room, facing the man I loved, I could not find my voice. Ryan stepped closer and touched my cheek. "If you go to Texas," he said, "don't expect me to follow." My eyes burned. He kissed my forehead, grabbed his jacket, and walked out. For a few minutes, I just stood there. Then my phone buzzed. I thought it was him. It was not. It was my commander. "Need your decision sooner than expected. Situation changed. Be in my office at 0700. I stared at the message until the words blurred. Then another notification appeared. This one was from Ryan. "I hope you understand what you're about to lose." I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ryan's message glowing on my screen. "I hope you understand what you're about to lose." It sounded like love at first. Then, somewhere around 3 in the morning, it started sounding like a threat. But I still missed him. That was the part nobody warns you about. Manipulation does not always feel like a cage at first. Sometimes it feels like being wanted so badly that someone cannot stand the thought of losing you. And when you are tired, lonely, and scared of starting over, you can mistake that pressure for love. At 6:15 the next morning, I was in my car outside headquarters. The folder sat on my passenger seat again. I had read every page so many times that the words had started to lose meaning. Texas. Leadership development. Promotion potential. Increased responsibility. Report date in 90 days. 90 days to change my life. Or destroy it, depending on who I listen to. My commander, Captain Hayes, was already in his office when I arrived. He was younger than me by a few years, but he had the steady presence of someone who did not waste words. "Close the door, Mitchell," he said. I did. He gestured toward the chair, but I stayed standing. That was a mistake. Because the second he looked at me, I felt like he could see the whole night written across my face. "You look like hell," he said. "Thank you, sir." He almost smiled, then leaned back. "I'll get straight to it. The gaining unit wants confirmation by tomorrow afternoon. Not next week. Tomorrow." My stomach tightened. Tomorrow. They had another candidate drop. Your packet moved faster. I looked down at the folder in my hands. Tomorrow was not enough time. Tomorrow was barely enough time to breathe. Captain Hayes watched me for a moment. "This is a good opportunity, Mitchell." "I know, sir." "Do you?" His question irritated me more than it should have. "Yes," I said. "I know." He nodded slowly. "Then why do you look like someone just handed you bad news?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. In the army, you learn how to answer hard questions without giving too much away. You learn how to stand straight when your personal life is falling apart. You learn how to say, I'm good, even when you have not been good for months. But Captain Hayes did not move on. He just waited. Finally, I said, there are personal considerations. Ryan? My eyes lifted. I had mentioned Ryan once at a battalion event. Once. Apparently, that was enough. Yes, sir. Captain Hayes nodded again, slower this time. Is he asking you not to go? I hated how simple the question sounded. He wants us to build a family here. That is not what I asked. The room went quiet. Outside the door, someone laughed in the hallway. A printer started making that rough clicking sound near the admin desk. Life kept moving casually, while mine felt like it was splitting down the middle. I swallowed. Yes, I said. He asked me to decline it. Captain Hayes did not react right away. Then he leaned forward, resting his arms on the desk. Mitchell, I'm not here to tell you who to love. That is not my place. But I am going to say this once, because I respect you. I stood even straighter. He looked me directly in the eyes. A partner can be sad about your opportunity. A partner can be scared of change. But a partner should not make your growth sound like betrayal. The words landed hard. Not because they were dramatic. Because they were clean. Simple. Impossible to twist. I left his office with 24 hours to decide, and for the first time, I felt angry. Not fully angry. Just a small flame under all the fear. It scared me, because anger meant I was starting to question the story Ryan had built around me. By noon, he had texted 7 times. Did you talk to them? What did you say? Lauren, don't ignore me. My mom is praying for us. I can't marry someone who abandons me. That last word made me stop in the middle of the parking lot. Abandons. I had never abandoned Ryan. I had worked late. I had deployed before we met. I had missed dinners because soldiers needed me. I had answered calls at 2 in the morning because leadership does not clock out when people are hurting. But I had not abandoned him. Still, my thumb hovered over the keyboard. I almost apologized. That was how deep it went. A woman can spend years earning rank, respect, and discipline, then still feel 12 years old when someone she loves acts disappointed in her. I typed, "We need to talk tonight." He answered immediately. Then come home ready to choose. Not talk. Choose. That evening, I drove to his townhouse across from a quiet subdivision with perfect lawns and flags hanging from front porches. I used to imagine living there with him. I imagined walking a stroller down those sidewalks. I imagined handing out Halloween candy. I imagined being ordinary in a way that felt peaceful. Ryan opened the door before I knocked. For a second, he looked relieved. Then his eyes dropped to my uniform. You didn't change. I came straight from work. Of course you did. The words were soft, but they cut. Inside, the kitchen smelled like garlic bread and chicken parmesan. He had cooked my favorite meal. There were candles on the table. A bottle of sparkling cider sat between 2 plates. My heart twisted. Because manipulation rarely walks in wearing a monster's face. Sometimes it cooks dinner. Sometimes it remembers your favorite dessert. Sometimes it says, I love you right before asking you to shrink. Ryan pulled out a chair for me. I don't want to fight, he said. Neither do I. Good. He sat across from me and reached into his pocket. When he placed the small velvet box on the table, I stopped breathing. Ryan. Open it. My hands went cold. I knew before I touched it. Inside was a ring. A beautiful one. Simple, elegant, exactly the kind I would have chosen for myself. Tears filled my eyes before I could stop them. Ryan watched me carefully. I bought it 3 weeks ago, he said. I was going to propose next month. But maybe this is better. Maybe life is forcing us to be honest. I stared at the ring. My whole body wanted to lean toward it. The family. The house. The normal life. The dream I had been too proud to admit I wanted. Then Ryan reached across the table and closed the box. But I can't give it to a woman who leaves. The tears stopped. Not slowly. Instantly. I looked up at him. His face was calm again. Too calm. You're using a proposal as a condition, I said. His jaw tightened. I'm asking you to prove we matter. No, I whispered. You're asking me to give something up before you love me safely. For the first time that night, Ryan looked genuinely surprised. Then his expression changed. Not hurt. Annoyed. Wow, he said. So now I'm the villain. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He stood, taking the ring box with him. And then his phone buzzed on the counter. He glanced at it too fast. Too nervously. I would have ignored it before. I would have told myself privacy mattered. Trust mattered. Adults did not check each other's phones. But the screen lit up again. And I saw the name. Madison. Under it, a message preview appeared. Did you tell her about the lease yet? For a few seconds, I forgot how to breathe. Ryan's phone sat face up on the kitchen counter, glowing under the soft yellow light. The message was still there. Just one line. Just enough words to split the room open. Did you tell her about the lease yet? I looked at Ryan. He looked at the phone. Then he reached for it too quickly. That was what scared me most. Not Madison's name. Not the message. The speed. The panic he tried to hide. Who is Madison? I asked. Ryan locked the screen and slid the phone into his back pocket. No one. I almost laughed, but nothing came out. No one. That was the kind of answer people gave when the truth was already standing in the room, breathing between you. She's asking about a lease, I said. Ryan turned toward the stove and picked up the serving spoon, like we were still having dinner. Like my whole chest had not gone cold. She works with me, he said. It's a work thing. A lease is a work thing? Yes, Lauren. In construction management, leases exist. His voice had that edge now. That tone that made me feel stupid for asking normal questions. I had heard it before, but only in small flashes. When I questioned why he kept his phone down on the table. When I asked why he never posted pictures of us. When I wondered why he sometimes disappeared on Sunday afternoons and blamed his mother. Each time, he had an answer. Each time, I accepted it. Because I wanted peace more than truth. I stood from the table. Show me the message. Ryan slowly turned around. His face changed in a way I will never forget. The softness disappeared first. Then the concern. Then the wounded boyfriend act. What remained was something colder. You don't trust me? Not right now. He nodded like I had finally proven something terrible about myself. So this is who you are, he said. The army teaches you to interrogate people and now you're bringing that home. That's not what this is. That is exactly what this is. He stepped closer and I hated that my body reacted. My shoulders tightened. My hands curled slightly at my sides. Training did that to you. You notice movement, tone, distance. You read rooms before you understand why. And suddenly, I realized something. I had been reading Ryan for months. I just had not wanted to admit what I was seeing. Show me the phone, I said again. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No. One word. That was all. And somehow, it answered more than the phone ever could. I grabbed my keys from the counter. Ryan moved in front of the door. Not aggressively. Not enough to call it something clear. Just enough to make me stop. Move, I said. His eyes narrowed. You're really going to walk out over a text? I'm walking out because you're blocking the door. For the first time, fear moved across his face. Not fear of losing me. Fear that I had named what he was doing. He stepped aside. I walked past him without touching him, but my whole body shook. My heart was beating so hard it felt loud in my ears. Behind me, he said my name once. Then again. Then softer. Lauren, come on. Don't do this. I kept walking. Outside, the air felt heavy and damp. The streetlights made little halos over the pavement. Somewhere nearby, a dog barked behind a fence. Everything looked normal, which made it worse. My phone started ringing before I reached my car. Ryan. Then Ryan again. Then a text. You're making a huge mistake. Another. Madison is nothing. You're blowing up our future. Another. My mom was right about you. I sat behind the wheel, staring through the windshield. My hands were on the steering wheel, but I did not drive. I just sat there, trying to understand how one evening had gone from a proposal to a stranger named Madison and a lease I knew nothing about. Then another message came through. This time, not from Ryan. It was from an unknown number. This is Madison. I think we need to talk. I stared at it until my vision blurred. My first instinct was to delete it. That sounds insane now, but at the time, it felt safer. If I did not answer, maybe the truth could stay outside my life for one more night. Maybe I could go home, sleep, wake up, and pretend there was still a version of Ryan I understood. But my thumb moved before fear could stop me. How did you get my number? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. From his iPad. Your texts pop up there. I'm sorry. I didn't know about you at first. At first. Those 2 words made my stomach turn. I typed back with shaking fingers. What lease? This time, the answer came fast. The townhouse. We applied together. He said you were his cousin staying nearby. I stopped breathing again. Cousin. He had turned me into a relative. Not a girlfriend. Not the woman he was pressuring to marry him. A cousin. Madison sent another message before I could respond. He told me he was moving in with me next month. He said he needed your decision first because you were helping with money. Money. The word hit like a door slamming shut. I thought about the past few months. The small loans. The emergency car repair. His mother's medical bill that suddenly appeared. The cash I gave him because he said he was short until payday. Not huge amounts. That was the clever part. Nothing dramatic enough to scare me. Just enough to make me feel useful. Just enough to make me invested. I opened my banking app with my hands trembling. There it was. 3 transfers in 6 weeks. 200. 450. 700. Each one attached to a story I had believed because I loved him. My phone rang again. Ryan. I rejected the call. He immediately texted. Do not talk to her. She's unstable. Then Madison texted. He's probably telling you I'm unstable. I looked between the 2 messages. And right there, in my parked car outside the townhouse where I once imagined raising a child, I felt something in me crack open. Not break. Open. Because for the first time, the confusion had shape. This was not love under stress. This was not fear of distance. This was control. Ryan had not been asking me to choose between career and family. He had been building a trap where every road led back to him. If I declined Texas, I stayed close enough to be managed. If I married him, I became easier to silence. If I felt guilty, I became easier to use. My phone buzzed again. A picture came through from Madison. It was a screenshot of the lease application. Ryan's name was on it. Madison's name was on it. And under emergency contact, in clean black letters, was mine. But not as his girlfriend. Not even as his cousin. He had listed me as his financial reference. I sat there in the dark, staring at that line. Then one final message arrived from Ryan. Come back inside, or I swear you'll regret embarrassing me like this. My fingers went still. Because suddenly, this was not just about Texas anymore. I did not go back inside. For a long second, I sat frozen behind the wheel, with Ryan's message burning on my screen. Come back inside, or I swear you'll regret embarrassing me like this. That was the first time he had said it plainly. Not dressed up as love. Not softened with tears. Not hidden behind marriage, family, or fear. It was control. My hands were shaking so badly that I dropped my keys into the footwell. I bent down to grab them, and for one terrifying second, I imagined Ryan walking out of that townhouse. I imagined him crossing the street. I imagined him tapping on my window with that calm, disappointed look. The look that always made me feel guilty. So I locked the doors. Then I started the car. My phone rang again before I pulled away. Ryan. I let it ring. Then Madison called. I stared at her name, still unsure whether she was a victim, a liar, or another part of whatever Ryan had built around me. But something inside me knew I needed answers. So I answered. Her voice came through thin and scared. Lauren. Yes. I'm sorry. I really am. I gripped the steering wheel and kept driving. How long? I asked. She went quiet. That silence told me more than I wanted to know. Madison. How long? 5 months, she whispered. 5 months. Ryan and I had been looking at houses 4 months ago. He had taken me to dinner 3 months ago and talked about baby names like it was the most natural thing in the world. 6 weeks ago, he had borrowed money from me for his mother's medical bill. And all that time, there had been Madison. I pulled into the parking lot of a closed pharmacy because my vision was blurring. The neon sign above the door flickered blue and red across my windshield. "Did you know about me?" I asked. "Not at first," she said quickly. "He told me you were his ex. Then his cousin. Then someone from work who was obsessed with him." I closed my eyes. Obsessed. That word made my skin crawl. "He said you were unstable," Madison continued. "He said you used your army job to intimidate people. He said he felt trapped by you." I laughed once. It came out broken and ugly. Trapped by me. While he held my future in one hand and a ring in the other. Madison started crying. "I thought something was wrong last week. He left his iPad at my apartment. Your messages kept popping up. They didn't sound like an ex. They sounded like someone he lived a whole life with." My stomach dropped. "Your apartment?" "Yes." "You already live together?" "Not fully. He stays over most nights." For a moment, the world went silent. The pharmacy sign kept flashing. Blue. Red. Blue. Red. And all I could think was, this is madness. Not dramatic madness. Not television madness. Real madness. The kind where your normal life turns inside out in one night, and suddenly every memory becomes suspicious. Every missed call. Every excuse. Every time he said he was helping his mother. Every Sunday afternoon he disappeared. It all had another address. Another woman. Another version of him. I pressed my hand over my mouth because I thought I might be sick. Then Madison said something that made the blood drain from my face. "Lauren, there's more." I opened my eyes. "What?" "He has copies of your documents." My body went cold. "What documents?" I saw a folder on his laptop. "Your LES statements. A copy of your military ID. Bank screenshots. Something about your housing allowance." I could not speak. For months, Ryan had acted like my career was the enemy. He had made my promotion sound selfish. He had made my service sound like an obstacle to love. But behind my back, he had been using the exact same career for money. "How did he get those?" I asked. "I don't know. Maybe from your apartment. Maybe from your email. He told me you were helping him qualify for the lease." My mind started racing. Ryan knew my laptop password. Not because he forced it out of me. Because I trusted him. He had helped me set up automatic payments once. He had borrowed my computer to print something. He had stayed alone in my apartment more times than I could count. I thought about the ring. The candles. The dinner. The ultimatum. He had not proposed because he loved me. He had proposed because he needed me emotional, guilty, and quiet before I saw the rest of the trap. My phone buzzed again. "Ryan." Then a text. "You better not be with her." Another. "You are ruining everything." Another. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" I stared at the words, and for the first time, they did not pull me back. They showed me the cage. Madison's voice trembled. "I'm scared of him," she said. That sentence changed the room inside my head. Until then, I had been thinking like a wounded girlfriend. A humiliated woman. Someone betrayed and embarrassed. But when Madison said she was scared, something older and stronger woke up in me. The staff sergeant. The leader. The woman who knew what danger sounded like before it showed its face. "Listen to me," I said. My voice was steadier now. "Do not meet him tonight. Do not tell him where you are. Screenshot everything. Save every message." "Okay. Send me what you have." "All of it." "What are you going to do?" I looked down at my uniform. At the name tape across my chest. Mitchell. For 8 years, I had worn that name like armor. But somehow, I had let one man convince me that armor made me unlovable. "Not anymore. I'm going to protect myself," I said. "And you should do the same." When I got home, I did not turn on the lights right away. I stood in the doorway and listened. My apartment felt different now. Not empty. Exposed. I checked the bedroom. The closet. The bathroom. The small patio door. My training took over in quiet, practical steps. Then I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. My email was already logged in. That made my stomach twist. I checked recent activity. 2 logins I did not recognize. One from Raleigh. One from an apartment complex across town. My fingers went numb. Madison sent the screenshots a few minutes later. There were lease documents. Messages from Ryan. pictures of my financial information. And then one screenshot that made my heart stop. Ryan had written to Madison. Once Lauren turns down Texas, she'll be easier to manage. She's scared of ending up alone. I read it 3 times. Not because I did not understand. Because I understood too clearly. He knew my fear. He had studied it. Then he used it like a leash. I pushed back from the table, breathing hard. Tears came, but they were not soft anymore. They were angry. Hot. Almost clean. My phone rang again. Ryan. This time I answered. He spoke before I could. Where are you? I looked at the screenshots on my laptop. Then at the folder from the army, still sitting beside my keys. I'm home, I said. You need to calm down and stop listening to that girl. That girl sent me the lease. Silence. A small one. But enough. Lauren, he said slowly, you don't understand what you're looking at. No. I think I finally do. His voice lowered. Be careful. There it was again. The threat hiding inside concern. I swallowed, but my voice did not shake. No, Ryan. You be careful. Because tomorrow morning, I'm walking into my commander's office with every screenshot I have. He went completely quiet. For the first time since I had known him, Ryan had nothing ready to say. Then he whispered, you wouldn't. I looked at the Texas assignment packet. At the life he wanted me to give up. At the proof of what he had been doing behind my back. Yes, I said. I would. And before he could answer, I hung up. But less than 10 seconds later, there was a knock at my apartment door. The knock came again. 3 slow hits against the door. Not loud. Not wild. That somehow made it worse. I stood in my kitchen, barefoot in uniform pants and a brown t-shirt, staring down the hallway like the door had become a living thing. My phone was still warm in my hand from hanging up on Ryan. For 1 second, I told myself it could be a neighbor. A package. A mistake. Then his voice came through the door. Lauren. Open up. My whole body went still. He sounded calm. That was the part that scared me most. Not drunk. Not frantic. Not out of control in a way other people could easily recognize. Just calm enough to make me question whether I was overreacting. That had always been his gift. He could make chaos sound reasonable. I did not move. Lauren, he said again. We need to talk like adults. I looked at the table. My laptop was open. The screenshots were still there. Madison's messages. The lease documents. The proof that he had used my information, my money, my fear, and my love like pieces on a board. My apartment suddenly felt too quiet. I walked backward, away from the door, and picked up my keys from the table. My pepper spray was attached to the ring, something I had carried for years without thinking much about it. Then I texted Captain Hayes. Ryan is at my door. I do not feel safe. I hated typing those words. I hated how dramatic they looked. But I sent them anyway. Then I called 911. When the dispatcher answered, my voice almost failed me. I had been trained to stay calm under pressure, but this was different. This was not a training lane. This was my home. There is a man outside my apartment, I said. He has a key. I ended the relationship tonight. He threatened me by text. The dispatcher asked if he was armed. I don't know. She asked if the door was locked. Yes. Then, as if Ryan heard her, his key slid into the lock. My heart stopped. The deadbolt clicked. Then the door pushed inward and caught against the chain. The little metal chain. That tiny thing I had almost never used. Ryan's face appeared in the narrow gap. His expression changed the second he saw me holding the phone. Are you serious? He said. I backed away. Leave. He looked past me, trying to see inside. Who are you talking to? Leave, Ryan. His jaw tightened. You called the police on me? The dispatcher's voice stayed in my ear, steady and close. Ma'am, stay away from the door. I did. Ryan pressed his hand flat against the door, like he could push his way through if he wanted. You are destroying my life, he said. The words almost worked. Even then, some sick little part of me wanted to apologize. Not because I thought I was wrong, but because I had been trained by him to make peace quickly. That realization hurt. I know about Madison, I said. His eyes flickered. I know about the lease. I know about my documents. For the first time, he looked past angry. He looked exposed. You don't understand, he said. No, I said. I understand enough. Then he whispered something I will never forget. You think the army will protect you? They'll protect themselves first. My stomach tightened. Because he knew exactly how to poison even the one place where I felt strong. Sirens sounded faintly in the distance. Ryan heard them too. His face changed again. He softened it, adjusted it, put on the wounded look like a clean shirt. Baby, he said quietly. Please don't do this. I did not answer. He waited one more second. Then he stepped back from the door. By the time the officers arrived, Ryan was standing in the parking lot with both hands visible, speaking softly like he had been the reasonable one all along. I watched through the blinds as he shook his head and wiped at his face. One officer came upstairs to me. The others stayed with Ryan. I showed the texts, the threat, the screenshots, the lease, the key in the lock. The officer's expression did not change much, but his voice became gentler. Do you have somewhere else to stay tonight? I almost said no. Then my phone buzzed. Captain Hayes. I'm outside with Staff Sergeant Rivera. Pack a bag. You're not staying there tonight. I looked through the blinds again. Across the parking lot, I saw Captain Hayes standing beside his truck. Next to him was Staff Sergeant Rivera, my closest friend in the unit, wearing sweatpants, a hoodie, and the kind of face she used before correcting a private into another dimension. For the first time all night, I almost cried from relief. Rivera came upstairs after the officers told Ryan to leave. She did not ask too many questions. That was why I loved her. She walked into my bedroom, opened a duffel bag, and started throwing in clothes. Laptop, she asked. Kitchen. Charger. Bedroom outlet. Important documents? Top drawer. She moved like a storm with a checklist. When I finally sat on the edge of the bed, my legs gave out under me. Rivera stopped and looked at me. Hey, she said, softer now. You're doing the right thing. I shook my head. I don't even know what the right thing is anymore. Yes, you do, she said. You're just not used to choosing yourself without feeling guilty. That sentence stayed with me. All night, on her couch, I did not sleep. I kept replaying Ryan's face in the gap of the door. The key turning. The way he said the army would protect itself first. At 0600 I showered, put on a clean uniform Rivera had driven back to get, and braided my hair so tightly my scalp hurt. I needed something to feel controlled. By 0700, I was in Captain Hayes' office. Rivera sat beside me. Not because I was weak. Because I finally understood that handling something alone did not make me stronger. It just made me easier to isolate. I told Captain Hayes everything. The money. The lease. Madison. The documents. The threats. The key. I expected disappointment. Maybe questions about judgment. Maybe that quiet look people give women when they wonder how we let things get so bad. He did none of that. He listened. Then he said, "We're getting you to legal assistance today. You'll file a police report, freeze your credit, change passwords, and document everything. We'll also notify the gaining unit that you are still considering the assignment." My throat tightened. Still considering. Those words felt like a hand reaching into deep water. "Sir," I said, "what if this damages my packet?" Captain Hayes leaned back. "Mitchell, what damages careers is hiding problems until they explode. Reporting this is not weakness." I wanted to believe him. I almost did. Then his computer chimed. He glanced at the screen. His expression shifted. Just slightly. But I saw it. "What is it?" I asked. He did not answer right away. Rivera sat up straighter. Captain Hayes clicked once, read something, then looked at me. "Mitchell," he said carefully, "did you send an email last night declining the Texas assignment?" The room tilted. "No." My voice came out thin. "No, sir. I didn't." He turned the monitor toward me. There it was. An email from my personal account to the assignment coordinator. Sent at 11:18 p.m. Polite. Professional. Final. After careful consideration, I am declining the position due to family obligations. I stared at the screen. Family obligations. The exact words Ryan had used for months. My skin went cold as Captain Hayes scrolled down. At the bottom, under my typed name, was a scanned signature. My signature. But I had never signed it. And in that moment, I understood the worst part. Ryan had not just tried to make me choose. He had already chosen for me. For a moment, nobody spoke. The email sat on Captain Hayes' screen like a sentence already passed. My name was there. My words were there. My signature was there. But none of it belonged to me. I felt Rivera's hand touch my shoulder. Not soft enough to pity me. Firm enough to keep me grounded. Captain Hayes looked at me carefully. Mitchell, I need you to say it clearly. I swallowed hard. I did not send that email, sir. He nodded once. And you did not sign that document? No, sir. My voice cracked on the last word. That embarrassed me, even then. I had been holding myself together all morning, but seeing my future stolen in clean professional language broke something inside me. Ryan had not screamed. He had not begged. He had not waited for my answer. He had logged into my account and tried to erase my choice. Captain Hayes picked up his phone. Rivera, stay with her. Yes, sir. He stepped into the hallway and lowered his voice, but I heard enough. Legal assistance. Cyber. Police report. Assignment coordinator. Possible identity fraud. Each word made the room feel smaller. Rivera turned toward me. Breathe, Lauren. I am breathing. No. You're holding air like it owes you money. I almost laughed. Then I covered my face. I was going to give it up, I whispered. Rivera did not answer right away. I almost walked into this office and declined it myself. I almost let him convince me that wanting my career meant I was selfish. She sat beside me. That's what he wanted. I know. No, she said gently. You're starting to know. That hurt because it was true. Knowing is different from seeing. Seeing is the shock. Knowing is the grief after it. By noon, I was sitting in a legal assistance office, answering questions I never imagined would belong to my life. Had Ryan ever used my laptop? Yes. Did he know my passwords? Some of them. Did he have access to my apartment? Yes. Had he ever pressured me about money? Yes. Each answer felt like handing over proof of my own foolishness. The attorney, Major Calloway, must have seen it on my face. Staff Sergeant Mitchell, she said, listen to me carefully. Trusting someone is not a crime. Exploiting that trust is. I stared at the desk. There was a tiny American flag in one corner. A stack of intake forms. A coffee mug that said, not legal advice unless I say it is. Normal things. But nothing felt normal. Major Calloway slid a checklist toward me. Today, you change every password. You enable two-factor authentication. You freeze your credit. You revoke his access to your apartment. You file a police report with all documentation. And you do not communicate with him directly. I nodded. Then she added, do not warn him about anything else. That made my stomach tighten. Why? Because people who forge documents usually panic when control slips. I thought about Ryan standing at my door. His face in the gap. The key turning. I nodded again, slower this time. The next hours blurred together. Rivera drove me to the bank. I opened fraud alerts and changed account access. Then we went to my apartment management office, where I had the locks changed and removed Ryan from every emergency contact form. The woman behind the desk looked uncomfortable. Breakups can be messy, she said. Rivera leaned forward before I could answer. This is not messy. This is documented unauthorized access. The woman stopped smiling. By late afternoon, my phone had 73 missed calls. Most were from Ryan. Some were from Denise, his mother. Her messages started sweet. Lauren, honey, Ryan is devastated. Please call us. Then they changed. You are punishing a good man for wanting marriage. Then worse. Women like you ruin families because pride matters more than love. I read that one twice. Then I deleted it. Not because it did not hurt. Because I finally understood pain was not always a command. Sometimes pain was just proof that something was infected. At 4:40 p.m., Captain Hayes called. The assignment coordinator received the fraud report, he said. Your packet is not closed. I closed my eyes. Air moved through me like I had been underwater. Thank you, sir. There's more, he said. My eyes opened. The scanned signature was attached from an IP address tied to a residential internet account. Police may subpoena the records. Ryan's townhouse. Or Madison's apartment. Maybe both. My grip tightened around the phone. What happens now? Now you document, cooperate, and keep yourself safe. His voice softened slightly. And Mitchell. Yes, sir. Do not let shame make decisions for you. After he hung up, I sat in Rivera's passenger seat outside the bank. The sunset was turning the parking lot gold, but I felt no peace from it. Rivera started the engine. You hungry? No. You need to eat anyway. I almost argued. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. For some reason, my chest tightened before I opened it. The message was short. He came here. I didn't open the door. He knows I talked to you. Madison. I sat up. Another message came through. Lauren, he said if you take Texas, everyone will know what kind of woman you really are. My mouth went dry. What is it? Rivera asked. I showed her the screen. Her face hardened. Block him. Save everything. Before I could respond, Madison sent one more message. A photo. It showed a manila envelope on her doormat. My name was written across the front in black marker. Inside the photo, Ryan's shadow stretched across the concrete. Then Madison texted. He left this for you. He said it proves everything. I stared at the photo until my phone screen dimmed. A manila envelope. My name written in Ryan's hand. His shadow stretched across Madison's doormat like he was still standing there, even after he had left. For a few seconds, I felt that old pull again. The urge to fix it. To call him. To ask what he wanted. To stop whatever storm he was about to create before it reached my command, my family, my career, and the small amount of peace I had left. Rivera saw my face and immediately shook her head. No, she said. I didn't say anything. You were thinking it. I looked away. She was right. That was the embarrassing thing about manipulation. Even after you see the trap, your body still remembers the rules. Keep him calm. Explain yourself. Don't embarrass him. Don't make him angry. But those rules had never protected me. They had protected him. Madison called before I could text back. Rivera put the phone on speaker. Madison was whispering. I didn't touch it, she said. It's still outside. Good, Rivera said. Do not open your door. I won't. Her voice cracked. He knocked for almost 10 minutes. Then he said Lauren would regret choosing strangers over the man who loved her. My stomach twisted. Strangers. That was what he called people helping me. Not friends. Not leadership. Not legal. Strangers. Because isolation had always been his favorite weapon. Madison, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady, call the police non-emergency line and report it. Tell them you're connected to an active harassment situation. What if they think I'm being dramatic? They won't, Rivera said. And if one person does, call again. Madison sniffed. Okay. After we hung up, Rivera drove me back to her apartment. I sat at her kitchen table while she made eggs and toast like feeding me was a military mission. I took 3 bites because she stood there watching. Then Captain Hayes called. His voice was tight. Mitchell, do you know anything about photos being sent to battalion leadership? My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. What photos? Rivera froze beside the stove. Captain Hayes exhaled. Screenshots. Personal ones. Mostly text conversations between you and Ryan. Some are edited. Some appear to show you asking him for money and threatening him if he left you. The room went quiet. I felt the blood leave my face. That's not true. I know, he said quickly. That's why I'm calling before this grows legs. My hands started shaking again, but this time it was not fear alone. It was rage. Clean, sharp rage. Ryan had failed to force me through love. So now he was trying shame. Sir, I said, I have the original conversations. Good. Bring everything tomorrow morning. There's more, I said. I told him about Madison's envelope. The threats. The photo. The police report she was about to file. Captain Hayes was silent for a moment. Then he said, Mitchell, I need you to understand something. This may get uglier before it gets better. I know. No, he said. I mean professionally too. People hear a messy story, and some of them stop listening for facts. That sentence hit hard because I knew it was true. In uniform, reputation mattered. Not because soldiers were perfect. Because trust moved faster than paperwork. One rumor could walk through a formation before breakfast and grow teeth by lunch. After the call ended, I sat very still. Rivera put a plate in front of me, but I could not eat anymore. He's going to make me look crazy, I whispered. Rivera sat across from me. He's going to try. What if it works? Then we fight with proof. I looked at her. She leaned forward. Lauren, listen. You have police reports. You have bank records. You have login records. You have Madison. You have the forged email. He has edited screenshots and panic. I wanted that to be enough. But fear does not always care about evidence. Fear knows how to whisper. What if they believe him? What if Texas pulls the offer? What if people think you brought drama into the unit? What if every promotion board sees you as a problem? That night, I barely slept again. At 2 a.m., I sat on Rivera's couch with my laptop open, building a folder named Ryan Documentation. I saved everything in order. Messages, screenshots, bank transfers, emails, lease documents, call logs, Madison's statement, police report numbers. For the first time in days, the facts lined up cleaner than my emotions. And something about that helped. Ryan had built chaos. I built a timeline. By morning, I walked into battalion headquarters with Rivera beside me and a flash drive in my pocket. I could feel people looking. Not everyone. Not openly. But enough. One specialist went silent when I entered. Another looked away too quickly. So the rumors had started. Captain Hayes was waiting in the conference room with the first sergeant and Major Calloway on the phone. I handed over the flash drive. My originals are on here, I said. My voice sounded stronger than I felt. Then Captain Hayes slid a printed packet across the table. This came through an anonymous email last night. I knew before I opened it. Still, seeing it made my chest tighten. Ryan had written a long statement. He called me unstable, controlling, obsessed with rank, emotionally abusive. He claimed I used my position to intimidate him and Madison. Then, near the end, he wrote one sentence that made my vision sharpen. Staff Sergeant Mitchell is not fit for leadership because she will destroy anyone who does not obey her. I stared at that line. For a second, it hurt. Then something changed. The words no longer sounded powerful. They sounded desperate. I looked up at Captain Hayes. I want to make an official statement. He nodded. Go ahead. So I did. I told the truth from the beginning. Not perfectly. Not without tears. But clearly. I told them how Ryan had pressured me to decline Texas. How he used marriage as a reward and abandonment as a threat. How he accessed my documents. How he sent the forged email. How he tried to turn Madison and me against each other. When I finished, the room was quiet. Then the first sergeant, a woman with 22 years in uniform and eyes that missed nothing, leaned forward. Mitchell, she said, look at me. I did. You are not the first strong woman to be targeted through her softest place. My throat tightened. And you will not be the last. But today, you stopped hiding it. That matters. I nodded, but I could not speak. Then Captain Hayes looked down at his phone. His expression changed again. Not alarmed this time. Focused. The police just contacted the unit, he said. They found Ryan. My heart slammed once. Where? Captain Hayes looked at me carefully. At the airport. With a one-way ticket to Dallas. Dallas. Texas. The same state as my assignment. And suddenly, everyone in that room understood the same thing. Ryan was not done trying to follow my future. Dallas. For 1 second, the word did not feel real. It just hung there in the conference room, heavy and strange. The same state as my new assignment. The same place Ryan had spent weeks trying to stop me from choosing. And now he was going there first. Captain Hayes kept his voice calm. He was detained for questioning at the airport. Madison's report helped. So did yours. Rivera muttered, good. I did not say anything. Because the truth was I did not feel victorious. I felt cold. Ryan had not been chasing love. He had been chasing access. Access to my money, my documents, my future, my fear, and now maybe even my new location. That realization changed something in me. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But permanently. For years, I had believed strength meant enduring pain quietly. I thought if I could carry more than everyone else, I was proving something. As a soldier, as a woman, as a leader. But sitting in that room, with my command team, my friend, and legal support around me, I understood something I should have learned earlier. Silence had not made me strong. It had made me available to someone who needed me isolated. Over the next 2 weeks, my life became paperwork. Police statements, fraud reports, bank disputes, credit freezes, email recovery logs, a protective order request. The army did not magically fix everything, but the right people did what they were supposed to do. Captain Hayes confirmed directly with the assignment coordinator that the decline email had been fraudulent. Major Calloway helped me organize evidence. Rivera slept on my couch the first night I moved back, even though I told her I was fine. I was not fine. Not yet. Sometimes I woke up at 3 in the morning and checked the deadbolt twice. Sometimes I stared at my phone, expecting another message from Denise. Sometimes I wondered how close I had come to signing away my whole future for a man who had already built another life behind my back. Ryan tried once more. Not directly. He sent a letter through his mother. It arrived in a pale blue envelope, the kind people use for birthday cards. I almost opened it in the parking lot after work, but something stopped me. Instead, I handed it to Major Calloway. Later, she told me it was full of apologies, excuses, and one final hook. If Lauren would just talk to me, we could still fix this before she ruins both our lives. Both our lives. Even at the end, he wanted ownership of mine. I did not answer. That was the first clean decision I made. The investigation did not become some dramatic movie ending. Ryan did not confess in a courtroom while everyone gasped. Real life rarely works that way. But consequences came. The lease application was withdrawn. Madison filed her own report and moved in with her sister outside Charlotte. My bank recovered part of the money. The forged email became part of an official case. Ryan lost his job after his employer learned he had used company equipment and accounts to send edited documents. I heard that from Madison. Not from him. By then, I had stopped needing his version. 3 months later, I packed my apartment in North Carolina. The Texas orders were still valid. My promotion path was still open. And I was still scared. That surprised me. I thought choosing myself would feel like a victory song. Instead, it felt like standing at the edge of a bridge in fog. I knew the road behind me was dangerous, but the road ahead was still unknown. Rivera helped me load the last box into my car. She looked at the front seat, where the assignment packet lay beside my coffee. "You know," she said, "Texas is lucky to get you." I smiled a little. "Don't get emotional on me." "Too late. I already bought you ugly gas station sunglasses." She handed them to me like they were a military award. I laughed for the first time in what felt like months. Then my phone buzzed. For a second, my chest tightened out of habit. But it was not Ryan. It was Madison. I got approved for my new apartment. "Thank you for telling me not to open the door." I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "You protected yourself. Don't forget that." After I sent it, I sat in my car with the engine off. I thought about the woman I had been when this started. The woman holding promotion orders in one hand and guilt in the other. The woman who almost believed love had to cost her everything. I wanted to reach back and shake her. But I also wanted to hold her. Because she had not been stupid. She had been tired. Lonely. Hopeful. Human. And Ryan had known exactly where to press. When I finally drove away from Fort Liberty, I cried before I reached the highway. Not because I regretted leaving. Because part of me was grieving the life I thought I wanted. The house near Raleigh. The Sunday coffee. The baby names. The ring that had never been love. Some dreams still hurt even after you learn they were built on lies. But somewhere past Greensboro, the sky opened wide and bright over the road. My GPS pointed west. My uniform jacket hung in the back seat. My name tape caught the light every time the car turned. Mitchell. Still mine. 6 months later, I stood in front of a formation in Texas, giving instructions to soldiers who looked at me the way I once looked at leaders I trusted. I was not healed perfectly. Nobody heals like that. But I was clear. Clear about my boundaries. Clear about my money. Clear about what love should never demand. One evening, after a long day, A younger soldier lingered behind and asked if she could speak privately. She told me her boyfriend hated her re-enlistment plans. He said she was choosing the army over him. He said no real woman put a career before family. I felt the old ache rise in my chest. Then I looked at her and spoke carefully. A partner can be afraid of change, I said. But love should not need you smaller to feel safe. She stared at me. I could see the words reaching the place they needed to reach. That night, I drove home under a Texas sky so big it made my old life feel far away. My apartment was quiet. My door was locked. My bank accounts were mine. My future was mine. And for the first time in years, silence did not feel lonely. It felt peaceful. Ryan had asked me to choose between love and my career. But that had never been the real choice. The real choice was between losing him and losing myself. And I thank God I finally understood the difference.